Ladies and gentlemen, the first two snapshots for Minecraft 1.11 have been released. They are called 16w32a and 16w32b. My name is slicedlime. Let me take you through a comprehensive look at what is new in these two new snapshots. First of all, let me apologize. I know this video is late. I've been away on a vacation. I just recently made it back home. You guys and girls made it clear that you wanted the video late rather than not at all, so here it is. There's a very long list of changes for these two snapshots, but believe it or not, Mojang have chosen to not reveal the biggest and most interesting changes, instead saving those for Minecon, which, if you haven't heard, takes place in Anaheim in just over a month. However, there's plenty of new stuff anyway. Let's start with the normal gameplay stuff. There's a few additions and changes as well as a whole bunch of bug fixing. Hunger has been changed again. The duration of hunger and saturation effects have been changed across the board, and the hunger rate for everything you do, except healing, has been reduced. That means that in relative terms, healing will now take up more of your eaten food than before. There's a bunch of fixes for items, including, hopefully, a fix for one of the oldest bugs in Minecraft. The bug where an item will seemingly drop in one place but will actually be in another place, causing it to not be picked up properly, sometimes even causing it to repeatedly fall over and over again. In general, Mojang say they've improved the handling of invalid items and hopefully have less duping bugs due to this change. Now, as for other bug fixes, they've fixed a couple of bugs with holding items in your offhand. If you held a fishing rod in your offhand, it would send your bobber not where you were aiming, but to the origin of the world, 0, 0, 0. If you held a bow in your offhand and that bow turned down into 0 durability, it didn't fully disappear, but now it will. Potion-tipped arrows. You could shoot them in creative mode, and they would actually take up an arrow. Of course, ammo is not supposed to be reduced in creative mode, and that is now fixed. Also, continuing on the track of potion-tipped arrows. Arrows with instant health or damage did not have any effect whatsoever. Now they have the intended effect. And Dragon's Breath and the Lingering Potions, they were invisible if you had your particle settings on minimal. If you dropped an anvil and it broke, it wouldn't make a sound. And if you came out of another portal, a compass would point in the wrong direction. Bunch of fixes for maps too. End bricks, purple blocks, chorus plants, bone blocks and structure blocks didn't have the right colors on maps. All of those have been fixed. Also, if you scaled a map and shift-clicked the result out, it wouldn't scale the map properly. A couple of fixes for crafting, including a very significant one. If you had a crafting recipe that you shift-clicked out and the resulting amount of items didn't fit in your inventory, those items would just be lost. They would be outright deleted. And that has now been fixed, so the additional items will drop on the ground instead. Let's move on to mobs. Skeletons and husks and possibly more enemies are now afraid to get into the water. In lightning storms there will now be fewer skeleton horses. The chance has been reduced to 1/5 of what it was previously. And there was a bug with this spawning. If you had do mob spawning or spawn monsters set to false, they could still spawn, and now they can't. Creepers now have a new and interesting effect. If you've thrown a potion onto a creeper, when that creeper blows up, it will now leave a lingering effect of the same kind as that potion when it explodes. Now, let's talk a bit about spawn eggs. In 1.10 snapshots, there were spawn eggs for all the new kinds of mobs, but then they were removed again. Now we have those spawn eggs back, and this time they properly work. Spawn eggs are now sorted by mob name in the creative inventory. And when you use a spawn egg on a fence, mobs could sometimes fall through that fence, and that has now been fixed. Together with a fix for all the spawn eggs, some entity names have been fixed as well, so now if you get killed by a subtype of a mob, like a wither skeleton, a stray, an elder guardian or a villager zombie, the chat will now correctly name the mob that killed you. Green villagers have been added back. And the green villager zombies, of course. They are a profession called a nitwit. They spawn naturally in villages, and when spawn in a village or from an egg, it has no trade at all. If you convert it from a zombie villager, it will receive one of the tier 1 trades from one of the other professions, but then it will not be able to unlock further trades. Now it is quite possible that this is actually a bug and that they are not supposed to have any trades at all. Of course, green villager zombies spawn naturally wherever a normal zombie villager could spawn. Some other fixes to mobs. Wither skeletons would flicker in the sun, they no longer do. Snow golems were given the ability to have their pumpkin sheared off, to match the snow golems of Minecraft Pocket Edition. However, the status was not saved, and it now is. They now have a pumpkin bite in their NBT data, to be specific, 0 for sheared off or 1 for a normal snow golem. They've also done a bunch of fixes for riding, including some fixes for passengers not being properly rendered. Armor stands, silverfish and endermites in boats would also spin rapidly. And when talking about riding, if you try to mount a saddled pig with an item in your hand, that item would be used up incorrectly, and that has now been fixed. And to round off our section about mob changes, entities could get stuck on farmland after trampling it, and the necks of chickens didn't have any texture, and now they do. Let's move on to a few things about the user interface. Chat warnings like "you can only sleep at night" now appear in the status bar, which is a new little section of text above your hotbar. This new field can also be accessed from commands, and we'll get to that later when we talk about commands. There's also a bunch of fixes, like a fix for the bug that there is no hunger bar when you ride a boat or a minecart, a fix for a custom named boss not showing the proper boss name in the boss health bar, and some language selection related fixes, including some fixes for crashing when selecting languages. Now there aren't that many changes to Redstone and to contraptions in these versions, but there are some and they are very important. First of all, items moving through blocks have changed again, which means, yes, you guessed it, your item elevators might not work again. However, there are very good news, and that is that dropper-based item elevators are now very simple and stable. Just put an upwards-facing dropper facing directly into a solid block, and your items are guaranteed to be transported straight upwards without any problems, and also at a slower speed, so you don't need any braking systems at the top. There are also some fixes for dispensers, including a fix for throwable items fired from a dispenser not being able to hit mobs for the first 2 ticks. Hoppers could get stuck on world reload at chunk borders, and that has now been fixed, and I suspect that this fixes the item duplication glitch that could be done using hoppers pointing into other hoppers over a chunk border. And finally, the hitboxes of sloped rails have been changed. Now, there are a lot of changes to the behind the scenes stuff, and that takes its expression primarily in commands, in map making stuff, in NBT data, and in resource packs. So let's go into commands and NBT first. /give now ignores item specific stacking restrictions, so you can, if you want, give somebody a stack of 64 snowballs, for instance. /title now has action bar field that displays a text, you guessed it, in the action bar. Entity IDs now have Minecraft column prefixes just like block IDs used to have. And most entity IDs and tile entity IDs have been renamed. They are no longer case sensitive, and instead of capital letters, words are now separated with underscores. This means that all commands that reference entity IDs or tile entity IDs need to be rewritten to take this change into account. If you want a full list of the changes in text form, you can find a link to a Minecraft forum thread down in the video description. This is a thread maintained by Skyliner W, and that lists all the changes to NBT data for Minecraft 1.11. That's a great resource, so if you want a full view of all the changes, head on over there and have a read through that. If you need to update your stuff, Mr. Goretto has made 2 helpful tools. One is a web-based command converter that you can just paste in a command and get the updated command back from it, and one, if you prefer that, is an MC edit filter version of the same thing. You can find the links to both of those tools down in the video description. Together with this, certain entities have been split into separate entity types for what used to be variations. So mob types are now separated like this: Guardian and Elder Guardian, Skeleton, Stray and Wither Skeleton, Zombie, Zombie Villager and Husk, horse, skeleton horse, zombie horse, mule, and donkey. One of the benefits from this is that /summon now works with the new entities and can now summon these variant mobs. So for instance, you can now use summon together with elder_guardian. Block IDs are also no longer case sensitive, and most commands can now be used with block state definitions instead of numerical metadata values. Data values still work, but they might be removed in a future version. Set block can now place block referred to by block state. So for instance, you can do set block at some coordinates, Minecraft:birch_fence_gate, facing equals west, open equals true. If you don't put in any block state, that is the same as saying default. Now, if you're looking to upgrade your commands, or if you're just looking for a handy list of all of the block states, OnNowhere has created a full list of the block states that correspond to every single old block value. That exists on Pastebin, and there's a link to it down in the video description. If you're running a test for block command or an execute detect command and you want to detect all block states, what used to be all values and specified as -1, that is now specified as star instead. And one more change to NBT. The item format has changed, so the count field now has 0 as a default value rather than 1. This means that if you don't include a count field, the item doesn't exist. So you have to include count:1b if you want an item to appear in an inventory. The final thing we're going to talk about is resource packs. The resource pack has changed slightly, and the version number in the pack definition file is now 3. Version 3 resource packs have to use lowercase file names for everything. Currently, resource packs do not work in folders, only in packed archives in zip files. So that is a bug to keep in mind if you're testing out resource packs on these snapshots. There are some other minor fixes like structure void blocks having unused model files, and some text not being possible to translate, like debug chat messages, super flat preset names, and some other random bits and bobs. Now these are the first snapshots for Minecraft 1.11, and as expected they are fairly unstable, so here are some warnings if you do upgrade. Summoned entities tend to crash, and there's one very important thing if you are using command blocks. Worlds do not cleanly downgrade from Minecraft 1.11 snapshots to Minecraft 1.10. That means if you open your command blocking world in 16w32a or b, and then open it back in Minecraft 1.10, all of the commands in your command blocks will be gone. If you intend to try these snapshots out, do so on a copy of your world, or on a completely separate test world. And with that, we have reached the bottom of the long list of changes. More news will be announced at Minecon in just over a month, including news about the plugin API that people have been talking so long about. And the only thing we know about the release date for Minecraft 1.11 is that it is sometime after Minecon. If you want to try these snapshots out, then do so by heading into your Minecraft launcher, creating a new profile and selecting Enable Experimental Development Versions Snapshots. Now select that version from the profile selection drop-down box in the lower left-hand corner of your launcher and start the game. You will now be playing the latest snapshot version, which is currently 16w32b. If you're interested in further information or any of the tools that I've been mentioning in this video, check down in the video description. There are links to all of them down there. If you're interested in more news, you can check out my Minecraft news playlist or subscribe to this channel where I post update videos for every snapshot released. My name is slicedlime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care, bye bye.